What's up, guys? My name's Splice and welcome back to another Reflections. In this video, we'll be talking about the way that Infinity War kinda just felt hollow and I guess. Let's talk about it. So, am I the only one who felt that a lot of the deaths in Avengers Infinity War was kinda cheap? No? Okay, well, let me explain my position. If you go into Avengers Infinity War, you have this feeling of this being a Marvel movie to break other Marvel movies. And what I mean by this is, Marvel has this weird tendency to only really kill off certain types of characters. You have the obvious ones, like bad guys. They kill them pretty much every movie. I think there's been only one where they didn't, and it was Black Panther. At least that's the only one that was noticeable to myself. If there's others, let me know, obviously. But generally, yeah, Black Panther is like the only one where the good guy didn't kill the bad guy. Then, of course, you have the other one, which is civilians. And yeah, there's a lot of civilians that end up dying. It ends up motivating the plot of Civil War, which I'm still kind of meh about that whole movie. But, so let's move on to the last character trope area that Marvel has traditionally killed people, and that is what I would call anti-hero or like a gray hero. So it's someone who's not quite a hero, not quite a villain, or they started out as a villain and they slowly had a bit of a redemption arc to be more of a hero. Now, obviously my example that I'm going for specifically is when Scarlet Witch and her brother ended up becoming kind of good guys, or in my opinion, middle guys, in a sense, because they're not afraid to go full out and deal with people. They noticeably had their own rule of trying not to kill people, which is nice, unless it was absolutely necessary. And you actually see this in the scene where they're in their own hometown, getting people out of the way of the train, that whole deal in Civil War. But one of the interesting things I noticed about specifically Infinity War was that this was a movie where they were going to be breaking, at least I understood them to be breaking, the typical Marvel formula and actually killing off heroes. They've got this massive roster of heroes that they've built up over the last however many years, and they've barely or very, very rarely killed off a hero, and if it does happen, it is massively significant and it's had this huge effect on everybody else. So, that said, we have this concern of, okay, Marvel's going to break the format, how are they going to do it? And I feel like this is me being a little bit hypercritical, but I felt like all the deaths that really happened were kind of cheap. And I say this knowing that, first of all, the Guardians of the Galaxy, all of them die, right? And they have a sequel coming out. Black Panther, T'Challa, he dies. He's got a sequel coming out. Spider-Man, he dies. He's got a sequel coming out. And the thing that really baffled me was, it was really just the original sort of core group and Shuri and a few other supplementary characters that survived. There was very rarely like a core member of a bigger team that left. So, I mean, obviously you have the Iron Man, Spider-Man correlation that grew a lot of sympathy for me as a viewer first time, but it still feels like that death, even though totally, you have the previous film, Spider-Man Homecoming, where he says, your death, I feel like that would be on me, and then this is hugely impacted by having Peter being killed by that at the end of the movie. You have this concern of, okay, but he has a sequel coming out. And it feels like this is the case for a lot of the deaths that happened. There are so many people with a sequel coming out that it's just like, okay, but we know they're coming back. And actually this refers to where Thanos and that whole, the second half of the Avengers movie will actually have that entire set of cast of people who died on screen pretty much they will be coming back, at least the title characters. I don't know about all the supplementary characters that were just sort of random thrown in that we didn't actually know, but all the characters we did know that were really named characters, it was pretty much all people that had a sequel coming out, so it felt very much like, oh hey, these people are dying, but don't worry, it's not permanent, because Marvel. I mean, and I say that, you know, knowing that comic books have literally this attached stigma to them that nobody really dies in comic books. And actually you have this cropping up in DC way more, I feel like, due to things like the Lazarus Pits, which is famous for reviving people from the dead. You see it in the DC TV shows at the CW, like with Arrow. They revived Laurel twice, I think. No, they revived Laurel once. Her sister twice. Thea, Oliver. Just everybody gets a bath in the Lazarus Pit, and it's actually ridiculous because it keeps happening. Now, obviously, they killed off the Lazarus Pit a couple seasons ago, but they've actually just re-brought it back in the continuity. But my point is, nobody dies forever in this show, or comic, or movie, or just in general. And I get that, knowing that from a comic fan perspective, I totally understand that, okay, well, but from a viewer who's been waiting for this for literally about a decade now, it feels like having the ultimate climax being all these characters we know are coming back, as opposed to some of the characters I personally would have liked to have seen an emotional journey from them passing on. And I'm talking specifically about characters like Iron Man, Cap, just a lot of the Phase 1 guys. I feel like they should have in some way been offed, because realistically I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe could have moved on without them, even though a lot of people are very much in the camp of Downey Jr. being the main appeal of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for so many people. And I know that it's a huge drive for a lot of people to come to the actual movies because of Robert Downey Jr., because he's such a star power in the Marvel Cinematic Universe these days. Like, he started it with Iron Man 1, and every subsequent film because of that has actually been because of the astronomical success of that movie and how they've essentially kept stacking on top of it. And Infinity War is no different. Now, that said, I feel like going into the second movie, we'll have stuff with Ant-Man and Wasp, and there's a couple other movies that come out in between Infinity War Part 2, but my point is, I feel like we'll have some sort of story building with them because they haven't actually had any effect to them, so it doesn't feel disjointed in the continuity as much. We'll see, you know, who in their lives has been wiped away, but I feel like all the characters in there will be, if anything, just sort of trimmed down a little bit, but, you know, all the name, face cast that we've seen before will all be there. That said, I don't know how to feel about this. I feel like Marvel very much played it safe, and I can kind of understand that from a business perspective, where I go, okay, you're this multi-billion-dollar, you know, cinematic universe, so collection of films that has spanned over a decade now, and you don't want to piss off any of the fans that you've built up over this time. So you only take out the characters that you know are coming back. So it's almost like yes, we're giving the fans who want that hardcore, you know, big name characters die that have significance to all kinds of different continuities in the future. And so you have this problem of, for those who built it up and who are keeping track of what's going on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the future, you have this feeling of a lot of the deaths feeling kind of hollow. And actually, I was discussing this with a lot of people. This seems to be a sentiment that while they really enjoyed the movie because it felt like at the time Marvel was taking risks, it ends up being like this way to serve both audiences. And I kind of understand that, you know, you have to be like, okay, I want to give the hardcore fans who want to see character death happen, I want to make them a little bit happy, but I also want to ensure those fans who are really excited for, you know, keeping everybody alive and keeping this Marvel Cinematic Universe so filled with characters and feeling so alive and buzzing. I want to make sure that they're happy as well, so that we have opportunities in the future to essentially use those characters if we want to. Now, I totally get those two perspectives. But again, as I said, if you follow the cinematic universe, and the future that it goes through in any capacity, this might feel very hollow to you. And I want to just say, I want to see in Infinity War, I want to see this as it kind of is the conclusion of Tony's arc, really dealing with Thanos. I want to see him either pass on the mantle to someone else, like I believe it's Ironheart in the comics is who he ends up giving the mantle to for a little bit, although there are mixed feelings about that. But we'll see. Anyway, that is kind of just the state of the universe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. My name's Splice, and thanks so much for talking to me. Let me rant at you guys about my feelings about Infinity War and how I feel like they definitely could have done a little bit better on the overall film impact of a lot of the deaths, because it felt like while they were done well in the moment, if you have a minute to think about it, you realize, okay, well, they're not really that impactful because they're all coming back for sequels at some point in some way. So yeah, it's going to feel a little bit weird when Infinity War 2 comes back. I feel like you'll be able to get the emotional weight of, you know, getting these characters back, so I'll be happy about that, but I don't know whether the trade-off will be other characters being taken out, or we'll just have an extremely long run for Mr. Downey Jr. or not. Who knows? Anyway, the point is, guys, thanks so much for watching. My name's Splice Knight. I will see you in the next video, and Splice out.